The Washington DC UFO Flap ran from 12 to 29 July 1952, with the most stunning events beginning at 20 minutes to midnight on the 19th of July. At that time, 7 objects appeared on the Radar Planform display of Washington National Airport Air Traffic Controller Edward Nugent. These were 15 miles south-southwest of the city, likely over Fort Belvoir. Nugent informed his supervisor, Senior Controller Harry Barnes, and he watched the objects on the radar scope to later state that their movements were completely radical compared to those of ordinary aircraft. When Barnes called the airport tower, Howard Cocklin and Joe Zacko confirmed the unidentified radar presence and added that they had also seen a hovering bright light in the sky, which departed at incredible speed. Aerospace journalist and public relations officer Albert M. Chop relays his version of the 2 weekends in July as follows.
There were radar reports of unidentified flying objects over the nation's capital. We had 3 reports. 1 came from Andrews Air Force Base radar control room, and 2 from the radar controls at Washington National Airport. The first sightings consisted of a number of unidentified targets picked up on radar. Then a call was placed from National to the Andrews Air Force Base flight controllers. They were apparently tracking the same targets. Then Andrews reported a visual observation of 3 objects that were apparently in the same position as those indicated by our radar sets. The targets stayed on radar until about 12:30 a.m. They moved slowly at first, about 100 to 200 miles per hour. Then one of the targets sped away at a fantastic rate of speed. It moved west from Andrews toward Riverdale. The estimated speed was 7,300 miles per hour. At this time, in the tower, we had about 7 targets on the radar scope. These unidentified objects were flying all over the city. They even violated the restricted air corridors here over the White House and over the Capitol building.
I covered the 19th and the 20th, but they were back again on the night of the 26th for more Saturday night euphoria.
I was awakened the following Saturday night around midnight by a telephone call to my home in Virginia. It was the public information officer for the Federal Aviation Authority. He told me the air traffic control radars were again picking up a large number of UFOs over the Capitol area. First, they would follow a definite flight path, and then they would suddenly disappear. Others would come into view just as suddenly. I placed a phone call to the command post in the Pentagon, and I asked for an intercept. About 2:40 a.m., we got a radio call from a flight of F-94s, 2 aircraft in the flight. They also, at about that moment, appeared on our scope. And at that moment, a very frightening thing happened to us. All of our unknown traffic completely disappeared the moment those aircraft came on the scope. The flight leader called in and said, well, it doesn't look like we're going to do any good here, so we're going to go back to base. And at the very moment those aircraft disappeared, all of our unknown traffic appeared again on our scope. And again, it was a very frightening experience. We called Andrews Air Force Base, and they reported exactly the same thing happened to their scope.